The cargo loader had been sitting broken in the corner of Meridian 7's maintenance bay for 3 days. Most species who passed by it simply walked around the useless machine. To them, it was dead metal now. Something to be replaced when supply ships arrived next month. Jinwoo saw it differently. He knelt beside the loader with his toolkit spread out on the floor. His hands moved carefully over the damaged hydraulic arm, testing each joint and connection. The machine had dropped a container and crushed its own lifting mechanism. Everyone said it was finished. Jinwoo disagreed. He didn't notice the 4 small figures watching him from behind the stack of supply crates. The Krevter cubs had been exploring the station with their guardian when they spotted the human doing something strange. They pressed closer, their large eyes fixed on Jinwoo's hands. Krevter were predator species, tall and covered in dark scales with sharp teeth that showed even when their mouths were closed. The adults were frightening to most species. The cubs were just curious. "What is the soft skin doing?" whispered the smallest cub. Raxith, the eldest at barely 7 cycles old, tilted his head. "Touching the broken thing." "Why would anyone touch broken things?" Another cub asked. In Krevter culture, broken meant useless. A broken weapon was discarded. A broken ship was abandoned. Even injured warriors were left alone to heal or die with honor. Touching broken things was seen as wasteful. Yet here was this human, sitting on the cold floor, working on a machine everyone else had given up on. Jinwoo found the problem. A small gear had cracked under pressure and jammed the entire system. He pulled it out carefully and reached into his kit for a replacement. His movements were slow and deliberate, like he was handling something precious instead of scrap metal. "Excuse us, human." Jinwoo looked up and found 4 young Krevter staring at him. He smiled gently. Most species found Krevter intimidating, but Jinwoo had been a medic long enough to see past the scary outside. These were just kids. "Hello there. Can I help you?" Raxith stepped forward, trying to look brave. "Why do you waste time on broken things?" Jinwoo held up the cracked gear. "This little piece broke. That made the whole machine stop working. But if I replace this one piece, the machine lives again. Is that wasteful?" The cubs looked at each other, confused. "But it's broken," one said. "It was broken," Jinwoo corrected. "Now watch." He installed the new gear and reconnected the power supply. The loader hummed to life. Its arm lifted smoothly, moving through its full range of motion like it had never been damaged at all. Jinwoo ran a diagnostic check on his handheld device and nodded with satisfaction. "See? Not broken anymore. Just needed someone to care enough to fix it." The cubs' eyes went wide. They had never seen anything like this. In their world, broken things stayed broken. "Everything broken can be fixed?" Raxith asked. "Most things," Jinwoo said, standing up and brushing off his uniform. "Some things need more work than others. Some things need patience. But giving up on something just because it's damaged? That's the real waste." The cubs followed Jinwoo as he walked back toward the medical bay. They bombarded him with questions. Could he fix weapons? Could he fix ships? Could he fix anything? "I'm a medic," Jinwoo explained. "I mostly fix people. But the idea is the same. Broken things have value. They can be made whole again." Before the cubs could ask more questions, a sharp cry of pain echoed through the corridor. One of the younger cubs had been running ahead and slipped on the smooth station floor. The small Krevter lay on the ground, clutching his leg. His siblings rushed over but didn't touch him. That was the way. Injured meant alone. The cub's guardian, a massive Krevter warrior named Threk, arrived quickly. He assessed his young charge with a cold eye. "Broken leg. The cub will heal in time. Come, young ones. Leave him to recover." "Wait," Jinwoo said, already kneeling beside the injured cub. "Let me help." Threk's hand moved to his weapon. "We do not accept weakness. The cub will endure alone." "He's not weak. He's hurt. There's a difference." Jinwoo looked up at the warrior. "Please let me help him. If you don't like what I do, you can stop me any time." Threk hesitated. Something in the human's eyes was strange. Not pity, not contempt, something else? Something gentle. Finally, he nodded once. Jinwoo called Dr. Hannah from the medical bay. She arrived quickly, carrying her medical kit. Together, they examined the cub's leg carefully. The small crevter whimpered, clearly expecting pain and ritual scarring like his culture demanded. "This will feel strange, but it won't hurt," Hannah said softly. "We're going to help your bone heal correctly. Jinwoo, can you get the portable scanner?" They worked together with practiced ease. Hannah explained every step to the watching cubs and their guardian. The scanner showed a clean fracture. Jinwoo prepared a specialized medical brace while Hannah gave the cub something for the pain. "In your culture, pain makes warriors strong," Hannah said to Threk. "We respect that. But healing faster and stronger also makes good warriors. This brace will hold the bone in perfect position. In 3 weeks instead of 3 months, your cub will run again. Better than before." The injured cub stared at his leg in wonder. The pain was fading. The brace felt strange but secure. And these humans kept talking to him in soft voices, treating him like he mattered even though he was damaged. "Why do you do this?" Threk asked. "What do you gain?" Jinwoo looked up from securing the brace. "He's a kid with a broken leg. That's reason enough." The cubs and their guardians stayed for another hour, watching Hannah and Jinwoo work in the medical bay. They saw the humans repair a cracked exoskeleton for an insectoid trader. They watched them treat a Velcherin-esque chemical burn with careful attention. Every patient was treated the same way. With care, with patience. Like they mattered. When the crevter finally left, Raxith looked back at Jinwoo one last time. "We will tell our fleet about you. About humans who fix damaged things." Jinwoo smiled. "Just doing our job." But Raxith's words carried further than Jinwoo could imagine. The cubs returned to their fleet, buzzing with impossible stories. They talked about the soft-skinned fixers who touched broken things without fear, who made the damaged whole again, who treated injuries like puzzles to solve instead of shame to endure alone. The adult crevter dismissed it as cubs' fantasies. But the youngsters kept talking. And slowly, very slowly, the adults began to wonder if maybe these stories had some truth to them. In the medical bay, Jinwoo cleaned his tools and prepared for the next day. He had no idea that a simple act of fixing a broken cargo loader had started something that would change the entire galaxy. Sometimes, the biggest changes start with the smallest repairs. The story spread through the crevter fleet like fire through dry grass. At first, the warriors laughed. Cubs and their wild imaginations. Humans who fix broken things? Ridiculous. Everyone knew that damaged equipment was replaced, not repaired. That was simply how the universe worked. But then Commander Vrek's plasma rifle shattered during a border skirmish. The weapon had been in his family for 6 generations. Irreplaceable, priceless, and completely destroyed. The weaponsmiths of 3 different species examined it and gave the same answer. Beyond repair. Throw it away. Vrek's daughter had been one of the cubs who visited Meridian 7. She tugged on her father's armor plating. "The humans might fix it," she said quietly. "They fix broken things." Vrek had nothing to lose. The rifle was already considered trash. The delegation arrived at Meridian 7 3 weeks after the cubs' visit. 5 crevter warriors stood in the docking bay, carrying broken weapons, cracked armor, and something else. Something they brought reluctantly. Hidden behind their proud shoulders, wounded warriors. Commander Taeyang met them at the airlock. He was tall for a human, with calm eyes and a diplomat's patience. He had been stationed at Meridian 7 for 2 years and had learned to read alien body language well. "Welcome," he said simply. "How can we help?" The crevter warriors exchanged glances. Finally, Vrek stepped forward and placed his broken rifle on the ground between them. "The cubs said humans fix damaged things. We need to know if this is truth or fantasy." Taeyang picked up the weapon carefully. The rifle's power core was cracked. The barrel was warped. Half the firing mechanism was simply missing. He turned it over in his hands, examining it from every angle. "Bora," he called over his shoulder. "Could you come look at this?" Engineer Biora arrived wiping grease from her hands. She was short and stocky, with the permanent squint of someone who spent too much time staring at small mechanical parts. She took the rifle from Taeyang and whistled softly. "This is beautiful work," she said. "Really old craftsmanship. What happened to it?" "Combat," Rex said stiffly. "It is dead now." Biora smiled. "It's sleeping. There's a difference. Give me 3 days." The Krevter warriors didn't leave. They set up camp in the station's guest quarters and watched. They followed Biora to her workshop and observed as she carefully disassembled the rifle. She treated each piece like it was sacred, cleaning parts that hadn't been cleaned in decades, replacing components that had worn down over generations of use. "Why do you touch it so carefully?" one warrior asked. "It is just metal." Biora looked up from her work. "This rifle is part of someone's history. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge shows years of faithful service. When I fix this, I'm not just repairing metal. I'm preserving memory. That matters." On the second day, Lieutenant Ari arrived at the guest quarters. She was a combat medic, compact and efficient, with a prosthetic left leg that clicked softly when she walked. She found the wounded Krevter warriors sitting apart from their healthy companions. "I heard some of you are injured," she said. The wounded warriors tensed. "We heal alone. That is our way." "I respect that," Ari said. "But I'm here if you change your minds." One warrior, Grathkur, had a wound on his side that had been festering for weeks. In Krevter culture, seeking help for wounds was shameful. Warriors either healed or died. But the wound wasn't healing. It was getting worse. The pain was becoming unbearable. Ari saw him wince when he moved. "That wound is infected," she said quietly. "You're going to lose more than honor if you don't treat it. You'll lose your life." "Then I die with honor," Grathkur said through gritted teeth. "Is there honor in dying from stubbornness?" Ari asked. She sat down nearby, not too close, respecting his space. "I lost my leg in combat 3 years ago. My culture told me I was still a warrior. Still worthy. Still strong. But I had to accept help to get here." She tapped her prosthetic leg. "This isn't my original body. Does that make me less? Or did accepting help make me smart enough to keep fighting?" Grathkur stared at her for a long time. Finally, he nodded once. Dr. Hana and Ari spent 4 hours cleaning Grathkur's wound. The infection was deep. In another few days, it would have been fatal. They worked carefully, removing dead tissue, applying antibiotics that had been specially formulated for Krevter biology, and closing the wound with precise sutures. Hana talked while she worked. She explained each step, each decision, each tool. She told stories about other patients, other species, other wounds she had treated. She made it clear that seeking help wasn't weakness. It was survival. "Pain doesn't make you strong," Hana said as she applied the final bandage. "Surviving makes you strong. How you survive is up to you." On the third day, Biora called the Krevter to her workshop. Vrek's rifle sat on the workbench, looking almost new. The power core glowed steady and bright. The barrel was straight. The firing mechanism was complete, improved with modern components that didn't change the weapon's character but enhanced its function. "I made her better than she was," Biora said. Handing the rifle to Vrek, "Test it on the range. You'll see." Vrek held his family's rifle with shaking hands. It felt perfect, balanced, alive. He went to the firing range and shot 15 perfect rounds. The weapon performed flawlessly. Better than he remembered. Better than new. He returned to the workshop with tears in his eyes. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," Biora said. "Fixing beautiful things is its own reward." The Krevter delegation returned to their fleet with functioning weapons and healed bodies. Their testimony spread quickly. The humans had done the impossible. They had taken broken things and made them whole. They had treated wounded warriors with respect and skill. Other species heard the rumors. The insectoid Chixari dismissed it as weakness. The aquatic Velsharen called it wasteful. The crystalline Orthani said it violated efficient resource management. But underneath the dismissal was curiosity. The communications started arriving slowly at first. A Velsharin merchant with a damaged ship component, an Orthani scientist with a broken research tool, a Chixari soldier with an injury their doctors couldn't treat. Each request was small, tentative, testing to see if the stories were true. Jinwoo found himself working longer hours. The medical bay that had once been quiet was now busy every day. Hana brought in more supplies. Taeyang arranged for additional human personnel. The station's human section began to transform into something new, a place where broken things came to be fixed. One evening, Jinwoo sat in the observation deck, exhausted. Eri joined him, bringing 2 cups of coffee. "Word is spreading fast," she said. "I heard 3 more ships requested docking clearance today. We're going to need more help," Jinwoo replied. "We'll manage," Eri said. "We always do." Through the viewport, they could see ships from a dozen different species waiting their turn to dock. Each one carried something broken, something their own cultures had given up on, something they hoped the humans could fix. Jinwoo thought back to the Krevter cubs watching him repair a cargo loader. Such a small moment, such a simple act. He had just been doing his job. He hadn't known he was starting a revolution. "Do you think they understand why we do this?" Jinwoo asked. Eri smiled. "Not yet. But they will. One repair at a time." The station's lights glowed warm in the darkness of space. To the waiting ships, Meridian 7 looked like a beacon, a place of hope in a universe that had taught most species that broken meant finished. The humans were teaching a different lesson. Broken meant opportunity. Damaged meant challenge. Nothing was beyond repair if someone cared enough to try, and the galaxy was beginning to listen. The communications panel in Young-Soo's office wouldn't stop blinking. 17 new docking requests, 12 medical emergencies, 9 engineering consultations. And it was only morning. Young-Soo rubbed his tired eyes and took another drink of cold coffee. He was the logistics coordinator for Meridian 7, and 3 months ago his job had been boring. Now he couldn't remember what sleep felt like. "Another Velsharin ship requesting immediate docking," his assistant called out. "They have wounded. Put them in queue position 23, Young-Soo replied. "And send a message that our medical bay is full. They'll have to wait 6 hours minimum." 6 hours. Some of these people had traveled for weeks to get here. But there were only so many human doctors, only so many repair bays, only so much time in a day. The station had transformed. What had been a quiet trading post was now the busiest location in 3 sectors. Ships crowded the docking rings. Aliens from species that normally hated each other waited patiently side by side. All of them needed something fixed. In the main medical bay, Dr. Seung-min was starting his 3rd surgery of the day. He had arrived 2 weeks ago with a team of specialists from Earth. Even with reinforcements, they were overwhelmed. "Scalpel," he said calmly. The patient was a Chixari queen. In their hive-based society, queens were sacred. They were never touched by doctors. They either survived illness and injury on their own, or they died and the hive collapsed. Medical intervention was considered unnatural interference. This queen had been dying. Her hive had watched helplessly as their leader's life faded. Then one young Chixari worker had remembered the stories about humans, about how they fixed impossible things. The hive had brought their queen as a last desperate hope. Seung-min had studied Chixari biology for 5 straight days. Their bodies were completely different from anything he had worked on before. But anatomy was anatomy. Biology followed rules. And humans were very good at learning new rules quickly. Hana assisted, her hands steady as she held delicate instruments. "Heart rate is stabilizing." "Good, Biora, how are those pheromone regulators coming?" In the corner of the operating room, engineer Biora was modifying a device to help the queen's damaged chemical communication system. Chixari queens controlled their hives through pheromones. Without it, the queen was just another insect. "Almost done," Biora said, not looking up from her work. "This is fascinating technology. Their whole body is basically a chemical factory." The surgery took 11 hours. The medical team worked in shifts, but Seung-min stayed the entire time. When the Queen's vitals finally showed strong and steady, everyone in the room let out a collective breath. The Shiksari workers waiting outside pressed against the windows. Their antennae twitched with anxiety. When Seung-min emerged and gave them a tired thumbs up, the workers began a clicking sound that rattled the station's walls. It was celebration. Their queen would live. Meanwhile, in Workshop Bay 7, Biora was working on a different impossible case. An Orthani named Velrus lay on a specially constructed platform. The Orthani were crystalline beings, their bodies made of living mineral structures. Velrus had been in an industrial accident that shattered 30% of his body mass. In Orthani culture, efficiency was everything. A damaged Orthani was immediately recycled into building materials. It was logical. It was practical. But Velrus' family had heard about humans. They had smuggled him to Meridian 7 against their society's laws. How is this supposed to work? Velrus asked. His voice sounded like wind chimes. I am broken crystal. Crystal does not heal. The Aura adjusted the resonance generator she had built. Your crystal doesn't heal the way my bones heal. But it can grow. Every crystal can grow if you give it the right conditions. We just need to figure out what conditions your body needs. She had been working with Velrus for 3 weeks. Every day she used sound frequencies, temperature variations, and mineral solutions to encourage his body to rebuild itself. It was slow. It was tedious. It required constant attention and adjustment, but it was working. Millimeter by millimeter, Velrus' body was regrowing. Why do you waste so much time on me? Velrus asked one day. Your species values efficiency. I have read this. Yet you spend weeks on a single damaged Orthani. This is not efficient. The Aura looked up from her monitors. Efficiency isn't everything. You're a person, a living being. That makes you worth the time. My people would have processed me into construction materials by now. Well, humans are different. We don't process people. We fix them. Velrus' crystalline body chimed softly, the Orthani equivalent of laughter. You are a strange species. Yeah, Velrus agreed. We get that a lot. In the station's new expansion wing, Jinwoo was training a group of non-human volunteers. After seeing what humans could do, several species wanted to learn. Young Krevder like Raxith. Curious Velsharin. Even a few Orthani who questioned their own culture's efficiency above all philosophy. The most important thing, Jinwoo explained to his mixed species class, is to care about the patient. Not just their injury, the whole person. Their fears, their pain, their hope. A young Velsharin raised a webbed hand. But our people say emotional attachment is weakness. Doctors should be cold and logical. Logic is important, Jinwoo agreed. But logic without compassion is just mathematics. Medicine is about healing people, not just fixing broken parts. The two are different. Raxith, now bigger and more confident, nodded eagerly. Like when you fixed my friend's leg, you talked to him, made him feel safe. That was part of the healing. Exactly, Jinwoo said. His teaching was interrupted by an urgent call. Young Su's voice crackled over the speakers. Jinwoo, we have a situation. Long-range scanners just picked up a massive fleet jumping into the system. Who is it? There was a pause. Drakari. The word sent a chill through everyone who heard it. The Drakari Ascendancy was the most powerful military force in known space. They were ruthless, efficient, and feared by everyone. They didn't ask for help. They didn't show weakness. They conquered, and they were coming to Meridian-7. Jinwoo dismissed his class and headed to the command center. Taeyang was already there, staring at the tactical display. 12 Drakari warships had entered the system. At the center of the formation was a massive vessel that looked half destroyed. That's the Eternal Fang, Taeyang said quietly. Their most famous warship. It was crippled in a battle 6 months ago. Every report said it was beyond saving, so why are they here? Jinwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. Same reason everyone else comes here, Taeyang replied. They want us to fix it. The station's human staff gathered in the command center. Through the viewports, they could see the Drakari fleet taking up defensive positions around Meridian 7. It wasn't an attack formation, but it was a clear message. The station was now under Drakari control until they got what they came for. A transmission came through. The face that appeared on screen was harsh and angular, covered in battle scars. This was Warlord Crescenal, commander of the Drakari fleet. Humans, the warlord said without greeting. We have heard stories. Stories that you fix broken things. Stories that you repair what others cannot. We have brought you a test. A test? Taeyang asked carefully. The Eternal Fang was my flagship. It has served the Ascendancy for 200 years. Our best engineers say it cannot be repaired. If your species can fix what the Drakari cannot, you will earn our respect. If you fail, we will know your reputation is undeserved. And if we refuse? Taeyang asked. Crescenal smiled coldly. You will not refuse. You fix broken things. It is your nature. You cannot help yourselves. The transmission ended. Young-Soo looked at the damaged warship on the display. That ship is... There's no way. It's barely holding together. But Ora was already pulling up schematics. Drakari engineering is different from anything we've worked on. But the principles are the same. Power systems, structural integrity, weapons arrays. It's all just problems waiting for solutions. Hannah put a hand on Jinwoo's shoulder. There's something else. The transmission included medical data. They've brought us a wounded warrior. Someone they've given up on. Jinwoo looked at his colleagues. His friends. They were exhausted. They had been working non-stop for months. And now the most dangerous species in the galaxy had brought them the biggest challenge yet. But looking around the room, Jinwoo saw the same expression on every face. Not fear, not resignation, determination. They were humans. They fixed broken things. It was what they did. Let's get to work, Jinwoo said. The Eternal Fang was dying. Ura stood in the massive warship's engineering bay and tried not to show how overwhelmed she felt. The damage was worse than any scan could show. The ship's core systems were fused together from heat damage. The hull had 17 major fractures. The weapons array was completely dead. Every system was connected to every other system in ways that made no sense to her. This is impossible, one of her engineers whispered. No, Burra said firmly. It's just really, really hard. There's a difference. Drakari engineers stood watching with crossed arms. They had spent months trying to repair their flagship. Their best minds had declared it hopeless. Now they watched these soft little humans crawl through their ship with tools and determination. One Drakari engineer, a scarred veteran named Kulva, approached Borer. You waste your time. The damage is catastrophic. The ship is dead. Borer looked up from the power coupling she was examining. Ships don't die. They break. And broken things can be fixed. You've got a redundant power system here that's completely offline. Why didn't you root through it? That system is 200 years old, obsolete. Obsolete doesn't mean broken, Borer said. She started tracing power lines with her scanner. If we bring this secondary system online, we can bypass the damaged primary core entirely. Then we can work on fixing the main systems without the ship losing life support. Kulva stared at her. That system hasn't been used in decades. We don't even have the activation codes anymore. Borer smiled. Then I guess we're going to have to improvise. For 2 weeks, the human engineering team lived on the Eternal Fang. They slept in sleeping bags between shifts. They ate ration packs. They worked 18-hour days. And slowly, impossibly, the ship began to respond. They cannibalized parts from other damaged ships in the Meridian 7 salvage yard. They fabricated custom components using the station's 3D printers. They rerouted systems in ways that made the Drakari engineers shake their heads in disbelief. Nothing the humans did followed proper Drakari protocol, but everything they did worked. How do they know these things will work? One Drakari engineer asked Kova. I don't think they do know, Kova replied, watching Biora jury-rig a power converter using parts from 3 different species technologies. I think they just refuse to believe it won't work. And somehow that makes it true. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Jinwoo and Hana faced a different impossible challenge. The Drakari warrior's name was Velkin. She had been a legend once, a fighter who had never lost a battle. Then an explosion had taken both her arms. In Drakari culture, a warrior without arms was not a warrior at all. Velkin had been retired with honor. But retirement for her was death. Slow, bitter death of the spirit while her body lived on. Her family had brought her to Meridian 7 as a last hope. If the humans could not help her, Velkin had made it clear she would end her own life. I am broken, Velkin said when Jinwoo first examined her. No longer useful? I should have died with my arms. You lost your arms? Jinwoo said gently. You didn't lose yourself. I am my arms. I am my strength. Without them, I am nothing. Hana brought in the schematics for the prosthetic limbs they had designed. These would give you back your strength. Better than before, actually. Enhanced response time. Superior grip strength. Full sensory feedback. Velkin turned her face away. False arms. Mockery of what I was. This was the real challenge. Not the technology. The human engineers could build limbs that worked. But making Velkin accept them? That required healing a different kind of wound. Eri requested permission to speak with Velkin alone. She sat down across from the Drakari warrior. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Eri tapped her prosthetic leg. The sound echoed in the quiet room. I lost this in combat, Eri said. Explosive mine. Destroyed everything below my knee. When I woke up in the hospital, I wanted to die. In my mind, I was broken, finished. Velkin's eyes flickered toward her. How did you continue? My commander came to visit me. She had lost an arm years before. She sat down and said something I'll never forget. She said the enemy took her arm. They didn't take her courage. They didn't take her skill. They didn't take who she was. She chose whether to let the loss destroy her or define her. She chose to let it make her better. Easy words, Velkin muttered. Very hard words, Eri corrected. The hardest I've ever heard. Because they meant I had to fight a different kind of battle. Not against an enemy. Against my own mind? Against my own fear. She stood up and moved through a series of combat forms. Quick, precise, deadly, her prosthetic leg. Moved as naturally as her real one. Maybe better. I'm still a warrior, Eri said. Still serving. Still fighting. The leg doesn't make me less. It makes me proof that damage isn't defeat. Over the next week, Eri worked with Velkin daily. Physical therapy, combat training. Slowly teaching the Drakari warrior to see herself as whole instead of broken. Sungmin and Hana performed the surgery to attach the prosthetic arms. The technology was incredible. Neural interfaces that connected directly to Velkin's nervous system. Synthetic muscles that responded to thought as naturally as her original arms had, but technology alone wasn't enough. Velkin had to want to use them. She had to believe she was still a warrior. The breakthrough came during a training session. Eri was teaching Velkin basic movements with her new arms. Pick up objects, put them down. Simple tasks that felt humiliating to a legendary fighter. This is meaningless, Velkin growled. I should be in combat, not playing with blocks like a child. Fine, Eri said. Fight me. Velkin stared at her. What? You heard me? Fight me, no weapons. No rules, show me what a broken warrior looks like. Something ignited in Velkin's eyes. They moved to the training ring. The fight was brief and brutal. Velkin attacked with fury, using her new arms instinctively. Eri defended, forcing the Drakari to use speed, precision, and strategy. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Your arms work fine, Eri said. The question is, does your spirit? Velkin looked down at her prosthetic hands. They were scratched from the fight, damaged but functional. Like her, she flexed her fingers and felt the power there. Different power. But real. I am still a warrior, Velkin whispered. Yes, you are, Eri agreed. On day 14, Biora called everyone to the Eternal Fangs Bridge. The human team looked exhausted. The Drakari engineers looked skeptical. Warlord Crescenal stood at the center of the bridge, arms crossed. You claim the ship is repaired? The warlord asked. Yes, Biora said simply. She was too tired for speeches. See for yourself? She initiated the power sequence. The bridge hummed to life. Systems that had been dark for months glowed with steady light. On the main display, diagnostics showed every major system online and functional. The engines thrummed with power. The weapons arrays reported ready. The ship's computer announced full operational capacity. The Drakari engineers rushed to their stations. Running their own diagnostics, impossible, but the readings were clear. The Eternal Fang was not just functional, it was improved. Humans had integrated efficiency upgrades the Drakari had never considered. Power distribution was optimized. Response times were faster. The ship was better than it had been before the damage. Kolva approached Boara with something like awe in his eyes. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, the Ora corrected, gesturing to her team and the Drakari engineers. Fixing broken things is easier when everyone works together. Warlord Crescenal walked slowly around his bridge, touching consoles, checking systems. His flagship. His ship that every expert had called dead. Alive again? Better than before? He turned to face the exhausted human engineers, then he did something no one expected. The warlord knelt. In Drakari culture, kneeling was the highest honor. It meant acknowledgement of superior skill. It meant respect beyond words. Every Drakari on the bridge gasped. The Drakari ascendancy pledges its protection to humanity's healing stations, Crescenal said formally. You have proven your worth. More than that, you have proven something we thought impossible. That broken things can be made whole again. He stood and gestured to someone waiting in the corridor. Velkin strode onto the bridge. She wore ceremonial Drakari armor. Her prosthetic arms moved with fluid grace. She looked every bit the legendary warrior she had once been. You did not just repair my ship, Crescenal said. You returned my finest warrior to service. For this, humanity has earned more than respect. You have earned our allegiance. The message spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Drakari, the most feared and powerful military force in known space, had knelt to humanity. Not in defeat, in respect. The humans had done what no other species could. They had repaired the irreparable dot in the medical bay. Jinwoo watched the news broadcasts with Hannah. This is going to change everything, he said. It already has, Hannah replied. 6 months after the Drakari alliance, Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the HDMS Restoration, humanity's first deep space hospital ship. Through the viewport, he could see dozens of ships from different species docking. At the newly built medical academy orbiting Meridian 7, everything had changed so fast. The Galactic Assembly had been called for the first time in 3 centuries. Representative Ji-hun was preparing to address thousands of species. The topic was simple but explosive. What to do about the humans? Some species wanted humans restricted, their abilities controlled. Others argued for humanity's integration into galactic leadership. The debate had been raging for weeks. Today, Ji-hun would give humanity's answer. On Earth, billions watched the broadcast. Humans had gone from being a quiet species on the edge of known space to the center of galactic politics. All because they refused to give up on broken things. Ji-hun stood before the assembly. The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 500 species. The air smelled like 1,000 different atmospheres mixing together. Translation devices hummed. All eyes were on the human representative. Honored delegates, Hun began. I've listened to your debates for weeks. Some of you fear us. Some of you want to use us. Some of you want to control us. I understand all of these reactions. Change is frightening, but I need to make something very clear. He paused, looking around the chamber. We don't fix things because we want power. We fix things because leaving them broken is a choice we refuse to make. Every species here has lost something. Planets, people, purpose. We've learned something that seems to be unique in this galaxy. Healing isn't weakness. It's the hardest work there is. A Krevder delegate stood up. The humans have changed our entire culture. Our young no longer accept that broken means finished. They question traditions that have existed for millennia. Is this not interference? Is offering help interference? Jihan asked. We never forced anyone to come to us. You came because you had something broken and nowhere else to turn. We simply offered an alternative to throwing things away. An Orthani representative spoke up, their crystalline voice chiming. Efficiency is the foundation of civilization. Human methods are inefficient. Yet they work. This contradiction troubles us. Maybe efficiency isn't everything, Jahan suggested. Maybe some things are worth taking time to do right. A quick solution that throws away the damaged isn't efficient if it wastes potential. We see potential in broken things. That's not inefficiency. That's wisdom. The debate continued for hours. But the outcome was already decided. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do. The Drakari stood with them. The Krefter young were already learning human methods. Even the Orthani had begun questioning their own beliefs about efficiency. The vote was overwhelming. Humanity would not be restricted. Instead, they would be integrated into galactic society as healers, teachers, and mediators. The humans had found their place in the galaxy not through conquest or trade, but through compassion. Meanwhile, aboard the HDMS Restoration, an urgent distress call came through. A species humanity had never encountered before. The Siltheran. They were dying. A genetic disorder was killing them faster than they could reproduce. Their civilization had only decades left. Dr. Hanna read the medical data and felt the weight of it. This is beyond anything we've done before. An entire species. Then we better get started. Jin Wu said. The Restoration arrived at the Siltheran homeworld to find a civilization in collapse. Cities were half empty. Their science was advanced, but they had found no solution to their dying genetics. They had accepted extinction as inevitable until they heard about humans. The Siltheran chief scientist, a being named Falvin, met the human medical team with desperate hope. We have tried everything. Our best minds have failed. But the stories say humans fix broken things. Can you fix a broken species? Sung Min looked at the genetic data. It was incredibly complex. The Siltheran had triple helix DNA. Their cellular structure was completely alien. Understanding it would take months. Finding a cure could take years. We'll try, he said simply. The human team set up a research station on the Siltheran homeworld. They worked with local scientists, sharing knowledge freely. The Ora helped design new medical equipment that could work with Siltheran biology. Hana coordinated with specialists back on Earth and at Meridian 7. Jinwu treated sick Siltheran, learning their biology one patient at a time. It was exhausting work. Many nights, the team wanted to give up. The problem seemed impossible. But then they would see young Siltheran children playing in the streets. A whole civilization waiting to live or die based on what the humans could figure out. We can't fail them, Eri said one night when the team was ready to collapse from exhaustion. Then we won't. Jinwu replied. 5 months later they had a treatment. Not a cure. Not yet. But a gene therapy that would stabilize the Siltheran genome and give them time to develop a permanent solution. The first test subjects were volunteers who expected to die within weeks. After treatment, they stabilized. They began to heal. The treatment spread across the Siltheran population. Slowly, carefully, the dying species began to recover. But more importantly, the humans taught them. They shared every detail of their research. They trained Siltheran scientists in human medical techniques. They didn't just save the species. They gave them the tools to save themselves. Thalvin approached Jinwu on the day the human team prepared to leave. You have given us our future. How can we possibly repay this? Teach others, Jinwoo said. When you find someone who needs help, remember what we did here. Pass it on. The news spread across the galaxy. The humans had saved an entire species from extinction. But they had done something more important. They had shared their knowledge freely. They had taught instead of hoarding. They had built capacity instead of creating dependence. Back at Meridian 7, the medical academy was thriving. Hundreds of students from dozens of species studied human healing methods. Raxith, the young Krevdor who had watched Jinwoo fix a cargo loader years ago, was now a top student. He approached Jinwoo one day with a question. Teacher, why do humans share everything? Other species keep their knowledge secret. Use it for advantage. You give it away freely. Jinwoo thought about his answer. Because healing is not a resource to control. It's a responsibility to share. If I keep knowledge that could save lives, then every life that could have been saved becomes my responsibility. I can't carry that weight alone. None of us can. So we teach. We share. We make sure everyone has the tools to fix broken things. But doesn't that make humans less special? Raxith asked. No, Jinwoo said with a smile. It makes the whole galaxy more capable. That's better than being special. The medical academy was just the beginning. Repair stations were being built across multiple systems. Hospital ships were being constructed by joint efforts between species. The Drakari provided military protection. The Krevdor offered resources. The Othani contributed their engineering expertise. Even the Chixari hives were sending medical workers to train. The galaxy was learning to fix broken things. One evening, Jinwoo sat in the observation deck of the Restoration with Hana. They watched ships from 100 different species arriving at the academy. Young beings from across known space, all coming to learn the same lesson. Broken doesn't mean finished? Do you think we've changed the galaxy? Jinwoo asked. Hana smiled, the same smile she had worn when Jinwoo was young and she was teaching him to be a medic. I think we've shown them they can change themselves. That's better. The communication screen lit up. A new call from the Galactic Assembly. Jihan's face appeared. I wanted you to know, Jihan said. The Assembly just ratified the Covenant of Restoration. 200 species have signed. It's a formal treaty pledging to protect the injured, repair the damaged, and never abandon what can be healed. Jinwoo felt tears in his eyes. That's incredible. The last article was proposed by the Drakari, Jihan continued. They wanted specific language included. Would you like to hear it? Please. Jihan read from the document. Nothing is beyond repair. No one is beyond saving. This is the lesson humanity has taught us. This is the promise we make to each other. After the call ended, Jinwoo and Hana sat in silence. They thought about how it all started. A simple act. Fixing a broken cargo loader while curious cubs watched. Jinwoo had just been doing his job. He hadn't been trying to change anything. He had just refused to give up on something broken, and from that small refusal, a revolution had grown. Young Sue appeared in the doorway of the observation deck. Sorry to interrupt, but we have 17 new ships requesting medical assistance. And the Academy is reporting 500 new student applications this week. Jinwoo stood up. Then we better get to work. Will it always be this busy? Young Sue asked. Probably, Hana said, standing beside Jinwoo. The galaxy is full of broken things. And now everyone knows they don't have to stay broken. They walked toward the medical bay together. Through the viewports, the stars shone bright. Each one represented a system. Each system had species. Each species had individuals. And every single one of them would eventually need help with something broken. But that was okay. Because the galaxy had finally learned the most important lesson humanity could teach.